Tariffs. Tariffs. 25% tariffs. This is something that Trump has been talking about since he was on the campaign trail. This is something that Trump implemented when he was in office the first time. Tariffs. The main tariff person that they was going against the first term was China, because he was able to renegotiate the North American Free Trade Agreement, which was supposed to create parity between the United States, Mexico, and Canada when it came to being active trade partners. Canada is one of our biggest trade partners, and this is going to hit them the most, right? One of the things that Trump was requiring was for them to control their borders. Now, some people will say, well, they've already been controlling their borders. It's not a whole lot of immigration that's coming across the northern border, but that's not true. And we're going to deep dive into it. But for now, let's just deal with the blanket tariffs that go into effect and how it's going to impact you, the consumer, and what Trump had to say about it. Again, make sure you guys hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's rock.
Good evening, Lester. Shares of U.S. automakers fell, but so did chip makers and other companies, now really worried about a potential trade war. And tonight, President Trump raising tariffs on most goods from China by another 10%. With only hours to go, 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico seem all but certain.
The tariffs, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow.
American auto companies bracing for big new costs. This factory in Livonia, Michigan, churns out 205 million auto parts a year.
This will get put into one of our nut assemblies.
Chuck Dardis is president and COO. He buys 30% of his materials from Canada. Chuck, tariffs on Canadian goods mean what for you and your business?
It means dramatically increased costs that we might not be able to recover.
The auto industry more sensitive to tariffs than most. It relies on cross-border tariff-free trade, rules written in President Trump's first term. The new tariffs inject big new costs and uncertainty into a supply chain still grappling with higher than normal inflation.
It's very alarming to us and many, many, many others.
Tariffs are taxes paid at the border by importers who either eat the cost themselves or pass some or all of it onto their customers and ultimately consumers. Tariffs could raise prices for the average new car by at least $4,000 and up to $12,000. Trump has cited fentanyl flow as a reason for the tariffs.
I would just say this to people in Canada or Mexico: if they're going to build car plants, the people that are doing them are much better off building here.
And more tariffs are coming. On March 12th come new duties on steel and aluminum. The president has threatened the European Union and virtually every American trading partner. For now, high anxiety here in the auto industry, where parts and components in a completed car or truck have likely crossed borders multiple times. This isn't a wrinkle in your business. This is
not a wrinkle. It's a wicked problem.
Christine Romans, NBC News, Livonia, Michigan.
A lot of people think that the purpose of Trump implementing tariffs is to ultimately level the playing field as far as the trade deficit that Trump is saying that we have with Canada and Mexico, as well as securing our borders. I believe personally that tariffs serve two purposes as far as the Trump administration is concerned. The first purpose is, well, actually three purposes. The first purpose is it is a negotiating tool and tactic, because people are more willing to bend the knee and do the thing that you want them to do, or other countries are more willing to bend the knee and do the things that you want them to do when they become interdependent on you for their success and their survival. Of course, you're going to have people on our side of the United States of America say, I don't believe it. I stand with Canada. I stand with Mexico. I stand with Ukraine. We know you against everything that is America because you anti-Trump and you anti-America, and you want the whole country to fall because you broke, dusty, poor, and you living in your mother's basement. Neither here nor there. The point of tariffs in the Trump administration is threefold. The first thing is it serves as a negotiating tool and tactic. Meaning you have to believe that I will implement these tariffs, and you have to understand that if you are not doing things the right way, and if there's so far of a deficit, if there's so much of a disagreement of where we supposed to be as far as you securing the borders and taking care of business and making sure that we don't have this huge trade deficit, then you're going to have to understand that I'm serious about this. And if you're not serious about it, or people don't believe that you're serious about it, they'll continue to take advantage of you because they look at America as an open wallet. The second reason for tariffs is we need people to secure our borders. It is a real thing that so many drugs and so many things are flowing against the United States of America, or flowing into the United States of America, and people are absolutely taking care of our open borders, taking advantage of our open borders, which you'll see later on in this program today. But the third thing, and this is the most important reason that we are having tariffs that are implemented against other countries, specifically Canada, because Canada obviously is not as much of an egregious partner when it comes to immigration and the flow of drugs across over into the United States of America. The third reason is that we ultimately want companies to say, we are going to build plants, we are going to build businesses, we are going to do business in America with Americans. So this supplier right here over in Livonia that is sourcing their parts from Canada, in which a lot of these people, they source all of their stuff from overseas. They go over to China, they go over to India, they go over to other countries, and they buy from outside countries to do business and sell you parts in which they don't pass on the cost, or they don't save you money, right? They don't reduce the cost of the product that they ultimately build for you and say, okay, well, this is what we're going to offer it to you for because we're getting it at a cheaper price. They just have a bigger profit margin. Of course, they're going to complain and say, oh, I'm not sure we'll be able to survive. I guarantee you they will be able to survive. The one thing I know about business owners is that they make adjustments. They know, okay, well, you know what? Listen, so we can't sell as many for as big of a profit margin. So we're going to shrink our profit margin and we're going to go more with quantity. We're going to make sure that we expand in order to have the same profit margin. We'll just have smaller profit margin per vehicle, but we'll have more profit per quarter because we're going to move more products. But more importantly, we also are supporting the American economy because we need to invest in America and we need to buy from American companies. The same product that we are buying over in Canada most of the time, we can get right here in America, but we choose not to because we want to increase our profit margins, which is not passed on to the consumer. It's a scare tactic often at times for them to say, we're going to have to increase prices and pass that over to the consumer. No, the profit margin was already healthy and they just fattening in their own pockets. So now you'll be forced to actually do business in American with other Americans, which create more jobs and it create a more robust economy, because the same way that you communicate and you say, well, the black dollar always leaves the community within one cycle of one person passing on the dollar. It's the same thing when it comes to the products that we're sourcing from other countries. That money is flowing overseas. They're profiting from it. And there's nothing wrong with having a great business partner. However, when it becomes such a disparity in how you're benefiting versus how we're benefiting, then we got to reset and we got to figure out how it is that we can bring jobs back to America and force people to do business in America similar to the way that they do China. You cannot go over into China and just automatically import vehicles over there and just start selling vehicles and start up a dealership made in the USA, shipped over into China. That's not how it works. Not even the parts, not even anything. If you want to do business over in China, you need to build in China. Tesla couldn't just go over there and start selling cars over into China. They had to build a manufacturing plant. They had to build a manufacturing plant. You can't go into other countries and just start selling the product. You can't just import products over into the countries and just start selling it. You have to be an invested partner inside of that particular country. Otherwise, they're not even going to let you do business. See, the one thing that we do over here in the United States of America is that we complain. We are the biggest complainers in the world. We are sassy, ashy, and we complain about every single thing. But the one thing that we're not going to do is support American. Y'all keep saying everybody need to have a livable wage. Everybody need to be able to support their family. People should only be able to work 40 hours. All of this. Well, the way that you do that is by doing business with other people inside of America. I can go and get a bunch of illegal migrants to go and build homes, and then we can sell them for cheap like they do right by the border down there in Texas. The reason why homes in Texas are cheaper initially It's because they throwing them up looking like a piece of crap in the inside. They can't even pass inspections. And more importantly, they're built by people on cheap labor, on slave labor. I choose to make an investment to do business with people that's in my own community and pay them whatever it is that I think is reasonable. I pay my contractors what they ask for. The guy that built the deck, the guy that do the excavation, the guy that do the framing, all of that. And guess what? They're using American workers that are feeding their families, and we do business over and over again. I make money. They make money. We keep money in the community, and we continue to build up the community because we're doing business with each other. We source all of our products by local companies. And we use everybody that's inside of the community. That's a small example of a bigger issue that we need to solve for here in the United States of America, which is one of the reasons why we're implementing these tariffs. Let's switch over. I want to see what Trump had to say about it in particular. And this is what he had to say about the tariffs being implemented and them going into effect.
Mr. President, one aspect to that, Honda announced they're coming to Indiana because of the tariffs. Once again,
That's right.
bringing
Honda announced that they're coming to Indiana. Indiana need as many jobs as they can possibly get. Have you ever been to Gary? Indianapolis is beautiful because Indianapolis is a conference town. It's a conference city. It's built for companies coming there and doing conferences. I've been to Indianapolis. It is absolutely beautiful. Indiana, you have a great state. I love Indianapolis. I think I got a blog up still on the Anton Daniels channel of when we was riding bikes. We went to the zoo, all of that stuff. That was before the pandemic. Honda is saying that they are going to build cars and they're opening up a new manufacturing plant in Indiana because of tariffs. It is a direct result. It is not something that you're going to see immediately impacted as far as how it affects the economy. But 100%, there are hundreds of companies, even Canadian companies. I'm seeing a lot of videos and I'll show them to you tomorrow. We can go over it, but there's a lot of companies that saying, you know what? It doesn't make sense for us to still be over in Canada. Doesn't make sense for us to still be over in Japan. Doesn't make sense for us to still be in Mexico. We're going to have to go ahead and proactively build plants and build manufacturing and jobs right here in the United States of America for all of the people that's laid off from the federal workforce. It's a direct result.
additional jobs in manufacturing. You want to comment on that as well?
Well, Honda's coming, and I told you about Apple that they're going to be starting.
No. Somebody said Honda builds cars in the U.S. It's not that big of a deal. No, Honda builds a certain type of car that they sell en masse in the United States of America. They're building more cars. They're building more plants. They're building better partnerships with the United States of America. Another reason why you then have to incentivize them to do so, you got to make it easier, reduce the burden. Okay, you get tariffs if you do it outside the United States of America. You build it inside of the United States of America. You get tax breaks because you're hiring American workers and you're keeping the dollar circulating here.
To build massively here, $500 billion.
Facts. Apple
we have many
is
other
too.
companies going to be announced, but we had many that have already announced, and no, it's going to be great. It's looking really strong. I don't think this country has ever seen anything like we're seeing right now. Now, the tariffs, as you know, will start a week earlier than the reciprocal, which is going to be on a couple of weeks earlier. Reciprocal tariffs start on April 2nd. And I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to go April Fool's Day, because that costs a lot of money, but that one day. But so we're going April 2nd. But very importantly, tomorrow tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico, and that'll start. So they're going to have a tariff. So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States, in which case they have no tariffs. In other words, you build, and this is exactly what Mr. Wei is doing, by building here. Otherwise, they'll build, if they did them in Taiwan to send them here, they'll have 25% or 30% or 50% or whatever the number may be someday. It'll go only up.
So what he's basically saying is the cost for you to import it into the United States of America will be more than the cost for you to continue to sell it to Americans by building it here and using American workers that then build up our towns, build up our tax base, build up our infrastructure. It adds to our revenue inside of the United States of America. It's a win-win long term. When you think about what's happening with the Trump administration, them getting people out of here, them building jobs here, them taxing other countries and forcing them to bend the knee, them making sure that things get taken care of. And we only about 40 to 41 days into this administration. We're setting this country up to thrive 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years from now, so your kids and your grandkids won't be indoctrinated and they won't be playing in women's sports, and they'll have jobs and they'll have thriving communities, and hopefully they'll have a reduced amount of taxes that they have to pay so that they can have a lifestyle that's worth living, and they can continue on the traditions that you set forth today. Everything that's happening in the Trump administration today is setting the precedent for people that's going to benefit after we long gone. It's not always about you. That's what the people of yesteryear did. They made the sacrifices so that we can then have the life that we have, but we so entitled, we so coddled, we don't want to go through nothing. We're not ready to continue to make the changes and the adjustments, so we don't really understand the economics of it. We haven't educated ourselves to how this is going to benefit America. Apple is building jobs here. Honda is building. Apple, what did they say? $500 million? Or was it 50 billion? It was something crazy that they said that they was going to invest inside of the United States of America. Because they can bring manufacturing back home, but you got to incentivize them to do so. Because we can't do that to other countries and we continue to support their economy.
But by doing it here, he has no tariff, so he's way ahead of the game. And I would just say this to people in Canada or Mexico: if they're going to build car plants, the people that are doing them are much better off building here because we have the market.
Somebody says, guess Anton hates free speech since he kicked me out. When did I kick anybody out? How did I kick anybody out? I am the person that says, if you disagree with me, I'm cool with that. Say what you want to say in the chat. Just don't spam and just don't get disrespectful towards anybody's kids or wives or anything like that. Who kicked you out? You're talking right now. How did I kick you out if you're still in the chat? There's plenty of people right now inside of the chat that are liberals or Democrats and they disagree with me. It's some people that are conservatives that disagree with me. Feel free. Listen, we are not a censorship space. We are not an echo chamber. This is my opinion based off of what I'm presenting to you, but I welcome people all the time. Uncut Underground, often at times he disagree with me all the time. Eric D, he's an original liberal disagreeer, even though he says he's an independent. There's plenty of people that disagree with me, but you may have done something that you're not supposed to do to get timed out. That doesn't mean that you're blocked. Stick around.
We're the market where they sell the most. And so I think it's going to be very exciting for the automobile companies. Very exciting I can think of any, as an example, North Carolina, they had the grid. I used to go there to buy furniture for hotels, and it's been wiped out. That business all went to other countries. And now it's all going to come back into North Carolina, the furniture manufacturer.
And we're very excited about that. Shout out to Trump for standing on business. But, you know, I can't just look at it one way. I have to be objective, and I got to look at it from the other lens.